How do you see that playing out? And more broadly, what impact does the Supreme Court vacancy have, do you think, on the upcoming election?
There has long been among Republicans something that analysts will call judicial fetishism. The unifying question of abortion, or as the Republicans would phrase it, the right to life, has meant that regardless of where you stand on the conservative political spectrum, the one issue you care most about is judges, and it's because of that issue of abortion. That really is why Republicans who otherwise would be deeply discomforted by President Trump in terms of his views of trade, of alliances, international relations, fiscal conservatism, have still stuck with him over the course of the last 4.5 years is because of this very moment. So common wisdom is, and we just heard it in that short clip that you played from the White House press secretary, that this will be a unifying action for Republicans and will bring them back to the fold. That's not entirely clear that that will be the case, however. It is arguable that that level of support is already baked into the president's current, 41 to 43% approval rate. And whether or not that actually enables him to increase his base or expand it remains to be seen. But clearly, one way or the other, over the next 43 days, there's going to be a lot of fireworks and a lot of highly partisan power politics taking place in Washington, D.C.
And Gordon, are we actually seeing the polls tightening as we edge closer to Election Day?
Remarkably not. Over the last 18 months, President Biden, former Vice President Biden has had between the 7 and 9% lead over President Trump, and that remains the same. President Trump's approval rating has almost been flatlined, between 38 and 42% for the last 3.5 years. So there might be a little bit of tightening here and there, a percentage point or not, but it's worth noting that at this point 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton had about a 1.6% lead over then candidate Donald Trump. Vice President Biden's lead right now is between 7 and 8 percentage points. It's fundamentally different. And again, the one question that I think we'll have to come back to over and over again over the next, a month and a half is, what would Donald Trump need to do to close that gap? What would he need to do to broaden his base and to bring people who heretofore haven't made up their mind about him, if there are any such people left in the United States, to support him? And is he capable of doing that, given his actions? I'm not so sure the Supreme Court battle is one that's going to cause a fundamental shift.
The coronavirus death toll surpassing 200,000 in the US can't be helpful for Donald Trump in terms of the timing in the election cycle. Those 200,000 people have friends, they have families, they no doubt vote. There does seem to be this real sense of anger on that front to continue to see Donald Trump at these rallies telling his supporters that the virus isn't affecting that many people, were his words at the rally this morning.
Actually, he says it's not affecting hardly anybody. At one point, he said it's affecting nobody. And obviously, 200,000 people is a staggering toll. What is even more staggering is the fact that if there are no further mitigating measures put into place between now and January, the estimate is the death toll between 400 and 500,000 people. Now, this has been the one story that Donald Trump has not been able to shake. He's been very skilled at changing the narrative. The one potential benefit of the Supreme Court battle is it allows that to be another story other than the coronavirus death toll on the front page of the news. But again, I'm not entirely sure the nomination of what is almost certain to be a very ardently, stridently pro-life candidate or an anti-abortion candidate will necessarily help him expand that base.
Just looking more broadly at the geopolitical implications, we saw the United Nations head warning overnight that a new Cold War is now beginning between China and the US. Was that a fair comment, do you think?
Absolutely. This is Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who's been for a long time stuck in the middle, as the United Nations is, and trying to warn against decoupling economically, dividing technologically, scientifically in response to health pandemics and other areas, and obviously at the risk of conflict. against something that the United Nations was established to avoid. Now, having said that, this is kind of reminiscent to the remarks by the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong at the beginning of the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore last June, when almost immediately after his remarks, you had both the U.S. representative and the Chinese representative come out and give blistering remarks. After the UN Secretary General remarks yesterday, you had a very strident speech today, virtually, though it may have been, from President Trump, and I anticipate more of the same out of China. So yeah, we are in for a bumpy road in terms of the relationships between these two superpowers.
Gordon Flake, always appreciate your analysis. Thank you.